Happy morning, I'm Paige, and this is the Happy Kitchen, where anyone can be a great cook. And I'm having a little bit of an off day, so I'm super excited to make a delicious, comforting, warm meal while it is still winter. We're making a gluten-free pot roast. It's naturally gluten-free if you are careful about the vegetable broth that you use. And the first and most important thing for this recipe is getting a chuck roast. The chuck roast is going to cook much better than some of the other roasts that they have available at the store. So specifically look and make sure you get a chuck roast. I like to pull it out of the fridge and let it come up a little bit closer to room temp. And so I pull it out of the fridge and I season it with salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and Italian seasoning. I do that on both sides, and then I let it sit while the seasoning is on it. While I'm waiting for it to come up to room temp, I like to chop up one sweet onion, and I do kind of a medium-sized chop because they kind of will disappear into the pot roast anyways. And you don't want it, if you do it too small, you don't even see them basically at all. So you're going to do one sweet onion, and then you're also going to do quite a few gold potatoes. Gold potatoes are my favorite, and I did 10 gold potatoes today because I want a lot of food and I want to have leftovers throughout the week. I also rinsed my carrots and cut some of the bigger ones in half. Then I got out my Dutch oven and put about 3 tablespoons of avocado oil. Any neutral oil will work. I like to use the Dutch oven because the higher sidewalls kind of contain the grease splatter. It makes it a little bit hard for me to get my tongs in there, but it kind of contains it a little bit better. And so because I'm using the Dutch oven, I use a little bit of a lower heat, and so I'm over like a medium heat. If you're using a regular skillet to brown, you might want to do a little bit higher, like a medium-high heat. And you just don't want to see any smoke coming from your oil, but you want it to sizzle when you set it down. So go ahead and sear your roast on both sides. It took just a few minutes, it's a big piece. And so sear it on both sides, and then I put it into the crock pot. I don't have the crock pot on yet, I just put the lid on top of it and set that aside. Usually I have to add a little bit more avocado oil into my Dutch oven, and I usually reduce the heat just a little bit and allow that new avocado oil to come up to temp. And then I throw in the sweet onion and saute that for a while. And this is the part where I like to take my time and let those onions really caramelize. Once those have softened and caramelized, Then you're going to throw in your seasonings. You're going to use the same seasonings, and I also put in thyme at this step. And I also do about 3 teaspoons of tomato paste. You're gonna see here I do quite a bit of seasoning because I did season the roast, but that's just on the outside and it's a pretty decent size. And then also there's a big bulk of potatoes and carrots. And so you wanna make sure that you have enough seasoning in there to really flavor everything. So even though it looks like a lot on just those little amount of onions, it really is to season the whole thing. And you can kind of adjust the salt at the end. But you want to make sure that you add enough garlic and onion and thyme and Italian seasoning at this step. I probably used a good tablespoon and a half of each of those. You are going to let all of that saute a second time with all the seasonings and the tomato paste, and cook that through with the onions for a little while longer. And then you're going to add about 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos and cook that down as well. And you can see the coconut aminos is deglazing the pan and pulling all of that delicious stuff off the bottom of the pan and thickening, helping create our flavor base for our pot roast. After that, I throw in the carrots and the potatoes and I coat everything. And stir everything together. Now, while everything was going, I started some hot water and I used my Better Than Bouillon vegetable base, and I pulled about 2 heaping tablespoons out of the vegetable base and put hot water over that. And so I have a cup of hot water and I stirred to dissolve. And then at this point, I pour the vegetable base over the top, and then I measure out an extra cup of hot water and pour that over and stir everything together. I turned the heat up just a little bit and stirred that for like about a minute and then turned it off, and I dumped everything into the crock pot. So this is going to go on low for about 4 to 6 hours depending on your roast size. So mine was about 2.5 pounds. So I'm gonna be closer to that 4-hour mark. And I'm gonna check it with a meat thermometer. And then once we're closer to the end is where the magic happens. So we're going to pull out the potatoes and we're gonna mash those with butter and milk. And at this point you can add a little bit of extra salt and pepper. You want to taste it first and then add in how much salt and pepper you want. Taste it again, make sure it's right. And then you can shred your meat and serve the shredded meat with the carrots over the top of these creamy mashed potatoes, and it is delicious. I am so excited for later when I get to finish it off. It's in the crock pot over here with you. So I just used a big spoon to pull the potatoes out, and a little bit of liquid came with it, and that's totally fine. And there's probably some onions in here and probably some carrot, maybe like a carrot or 2, and there might be a potato or 2 left behind as well. But I did my best, and there's a little liquid in here. So we're gonna mash first, and then we'll add in our butter and our milk. It was probably about 4 tablespoons of butter, and I just covered it up with the potatoes so it can start to melt. I'll mash that in, add in some milk, season with salt and pepper to taste. I'll taste it first and then I'll add more in if I need it and go from there. Hello, it is the next day. I am going to show you guys a clip of the bowl fully made that is from today as well. And you can see it all kind of turns the same color. It's not the prettiest dish. If you want it to be super pretty, you can top it with a little bit of chopped parsley, make it a little bit prettier, but honestly, left over, it tastes even better because all the flavors kind of meld and have time to sit overnight or even 2 nights, and it's delicious. But what I wanted to show you guys here is I keep all of the juice after I shred the meat. And I also wanted to talk to you about when I say I check the temperature of the meat, that's how I know that it's fully cooked. And that's when I start checking on it. And it's definitely gonna need longer over the cook, like temperature wise. And you're gonna know that it's done when it starts pulling apart and shredding really easily right in the crock pot as you're pulling on it. If it doesn't do that, give it longer. And once it does start doing that, I turn the crock pot off and I let it sit for about 30 minutes, and that helps it relax, and then that's when I shred it. If you have any questions for me about this recipe, leave them in the comments down below. I hope you make it and you enjoy, and it's delicious as well. Every single Friday I make a new gluten-free recipe video, and sometimes I do Breville coffee videos. I love good food, good gluten-free food, and I also really love coffee. And so those are my 2 kind of main things on this channel. And if you would like to see more of those, you can subscribe down below, join the Happy Kitchen family. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy day.